Ron, can I help you?
Yes, hi, RJ. This is Jesse Surratt with TupacNation.net.
Hey, Jesse, how you doing?
Doing fabulous, brother. First of all, on behalf of Tupac Nation, we want to thank you for your continued support and dropping these clips on us. We really appreciate the footage, and we appreciate you as a member.
It's been great chopping it up with the fans. I've had a little bit of free time working on my last project to actually kind of take the holidays and try to get in with the fans a little bit. And you know what, Jesse, I think that the people are a little misdirected about what's going on here, and I want to kind of address that first. And part of the reason I picked the clip that we picked this week to put out.
And you know, the fans, we do appreciate, because this is an insider look on the inner workings of his family. I mean, like you said, Glow does not give a lot of interviews. I think that anybody trying to put some truth out there, there has to be validity in those clips, because we're just seeing people telling their stories.
The bottom line here is that there's no ulterior motive, there's no agenda. There are reasons we put certain clips out and reasons that have relevance one way or another, maybe a line of topic or a line of discussion. There's no other agenda other than the fact that we have such a vast amount of interviews that we've conducted over the years with Tupac's family and friends, and it's just a shame for them to sit, on a hard drive someplace collecting dust and not being seen by the fans. When we do a DVD, we've got an hour and a half, and we may have hundreds of hours of interviews, and I just think it's just wrong to just let that stuff sit, man. It's it's so much good information, worth it to bring it out to the fans. I'm kind of being beat up a little bit by it, and I kind of been surprised by that. So, I'm hoping maybe this clip here, maybe it's not as explosive or controversial as some of the other ones are, but ultimately, it's all coming from the same place. It's coming from the heart.
What are we seeing in this clip? We know it's Tupac and Glow.
Yeah, this is Glow. Glow doesn't do interviews. You notice she did a little bit with the Tupac gambling site, but that's it. I mean, she's one of these people that stays in the background, minds her own business, does her own thing. She's a good friend. She's a good friend of my family. She's a friend of Frank's and Frank's family, and just a great lady. There's very few ladies that are just great women, and she is a great woman. She spoke to me personally because she had an autistic child. I happen to have two autistic children. And my children, she's had that experience, and she wrote a book about it.
Oh, you must be talking about Billy the Fog.
Yeah, that one, that's the one. Because, anybody that has to deal with somebody who's got autistic kids really needs to understand this. And Glow wrote the book, and if you can pick it up, it's a great read. I mean, it's a great read. It was a great personal experience, and that's the only thing I know about Glow, is that she's got no reason to lie. She's got no reason to bullshit. She's got no reason to be anything other than what she is. I mean, we shot the interview with her at her house. Pictures of Pac. Pac's couch is still there. His plaques, she's got a lot of those. Pac's original fish tank that he had out in L.A., she still takes care of that. I mean, this is a woman that loved Tupac. She was his auntie. The reason that I like this interview as much as I do is because it's probably the saddest story. And when we first started talking to her, what happened was they owned their home in Atlanta, and they decided Tupac was very successful, and he got the house in Calabasas, and he was ready for them to come out. In fact, he talked to them about buying them a house right across the street from where he was staying. And they were going to come out, and they were going to pick their house, and they were going to, basically kind of live the American dream. And for a lot of people that were, poor living in Atlanta for all their lives, that's an amazing thought. So she and her husband, they had their own home, and they had a life in Atlanta, and they kind of decided, well, what the heck, we're going to do it. And they sold off their house. They sold off a lot of personal possessions, and they kind of like the Beverly Hillbillies. They just kind of packed up the truck and started on this huge adventure. And we kind of pick up the interview in the middle of that. I wish I had her actually talking about it more, but you can understand that they made an amazing sacrifice in giving up their house and all that. And the whole idea of, she doesn't even really get into it because she actually goes to the hospital. But when you think about it, it's like, well, now what the hell do we do?
Yeah, so that was planned for that month. She was already on her way out there when she got the news.
That's right. Yeah, they had made the decision. All the plans had been laid out, and they had already sold off their house. They had already done the things that they were going to do, and got rid of what possessions they were going to get rid of, just like you would for any other move. And they decided they were going to, instead of flying out there, they were going to drive. They had never really been across the United States. That's how come they got lost. They had never really taken that long drive across the United States. But, like everybody should, it's nice to see the world.
So what did she think when she saw this interview?
Well, every time we make a movie, and this has happened on Before I Wake, it happened on the assassination movies, and it happens on Frank's books, we go to the estate's attorneys first, and we talk to them about what we're going to do, and we're going to make this movie. And officially, they don't care so long as we stay away from certain things like, music and some of the copyrights related to that. And largely, it's because of Frank's relationship with the estate. He's got a wonderful relationship with the Feeney and Glow, and I've got a great relationship with Glow as well. And so it was a kind of an extension of that friendship and part one of the movie that they were willing to not only interview Glow, but let us shoot right there at the Tupac Shakur Foundation. That doesn't happen every day. And we were very pleased and privileged to do that. So when we were done cutting part two, we took it back and we showed it to Glow, and her overall opinion about it was great. In fact, it was kind of funny because we had to cut a little bit of it down because her first take, being the kind of person that she is, she's very just, larger than life, just the most down-to-earth and grounded person you ever want to meet. And so we promised her I'd go in and I made some cuts and cut down some things, and that was it. Really, they liked the movies, and it was based on that we got it out there. And I've been out to the Shakur Foundation for Tupac's birthday. I've dropped off tons and tons of DVDs for them to sell off and that, and it's been a great relationship. I've got nothing but mad love and mad respect for Glow and Jean, as she's called by a lot of people earlier on. And hopefully we'll be doing a little bit more of that and a little bit less of this nitpicky, conspiracy theory stuff, and that'll be kind of nice.
I just wanted to make it clear to the forum and to anybody that's listening that we're not attacking people who disagree with what we're putting forward, but we're not coming with an agenda. Would you like to speak a little bit on that before we close?
My opinion, Jesse, my feeling on the whole thing is that, I'm just trying to contribute to the general conversation. And, if a website or if a particular user or a member or whatever, doesn't like or appreciate the amount of work and effort that's involved in it, let them go someplace else. I mean, there's really there's no room in my life anyway for the level of attack that's come out against me personally. I mean, people running around saying that I was being sued or that I've been sued. Let me tell you something, Jesse. We've never been sued on these movies, not once. There's not been one lawsuit. The only lawsuit about these movies has come when we sued our distributor over not paying us for the movie. That's it. But it's the whole thing about saying that I was sued. Why would somebody say that? Why would somebody even bother to put that in writing? Especially somebody that we both know should be a little bit better about fact-checking. Why would they put all that out about that? I don't understand that. If you want to attack the credibility of the information, attack the credibility of the information. But, let's not attack the person because, and say that they've got some sort of an agenda. My agenda is to try to put out as much knowledge about the people, places, and things that were around Tupac, and I think that's eventually going to make some of this conversation irrelevant. But I do think that it's been kind of an unnecessary attack on me, and it's very telling.